Angie,
John,
I've got a big decision to make and I don't know what to do.
what's the big decision?
I don't know who to vote for in the Eurovision Song Contest.
In the what?
The Eurovision Song Contest, where all the European countries and Australia, for some reason, compete to win a trophy.
Oh, John, I don't think anyone cares.
Angie, the gays care. The gays care. Let's start the show. Welcome to the Coaching Clinic with John and Angie, the show for professional coaches that explores the ins and outs of coaching, from working with clients through to running and marketing your coaching business.
If you're a professional coach who's committed to your own personal and professional growth, cares about making a difference, and wants to have a successful coaching business, you're in the right place.
My name's John Ball.
And I'm Angela Bezignano.
Between us, we have over 50 years of coaching experience and best practices to share with you. From getting started to scaling up your business.
We know what works and what doesn't, as well as what it really takes to have a successful and thriving coaching business.
With new episodes every Wednesday.
Make sure you're subscribed to get them fresh.
Angie, we've been talking about approaching this topic for a while. It's been on our list of ones to get to. And today we're going to have a bit of a chat about codependent clients and coaches with savior complexes. Interesting topic. And I have some personal experience of this on both sides of having codependent clients and having a bit of that savior complex going on, certainly in my early days of coaching. And it took me a while. But where do you stand with this? Have you had some experience as well?
Oh, gosh. Yes, I definitely have. I think the savior complex, like yourself, I definitely experienced earlier on. But tell me, I would love to hear your perspective. So tell me about one of the times that you won of, because I'm assuming there's a couple, but where you had felt that or experienced that. This way,
Yeah.
because I think there's a lot of people listening that are like, what the hell does that? I can kind of figure it out, but what does that even mean?
Sure. Okay. So here's the situation I found myself in my very early days. I was one of my very first paying clients as a coach and really liked her, super nice client and professional woman, and really wanted to make some life changes and some working on some growth. It was pretty general stuff, I suppose. Where we found ourselves getting was she would be, this is in days before text messaging. God, I'm old. But I would be getting
smoke signals. He's talking smoke signals, folks. Sorry, go ahead.
Not far off. Voicemails. So I'd be getting voicemails. I'd be getting emails from her, and sometimes quite sort of late in the day phone calls. So what should I do? What should I do? This situation's come up. What should I do? Got to even a point where, like, at first I thought this was just one of those things with coaching. And then at some point I started realizing the things that she was calling me up for, decisions she was making, are decisions that she should be able to make by herself. And what was I doing intervening in these kinds of decisions that she was making? Not that I was telling her what to do. I was trying to go, well, what do you think you should do? What are your options here? Which one's most attractive? It was all that kind of thing. But I should not have been that available to the client.
Right.
And I know that part of the reason why I was doing it is because I felt it was my responsibility to fix my client and that I could do that. As a coach, I could fix my clients and be like their savior. I could be their Superman and fly in and save the day. That was pretty much what I had in my head. And that situation and a few other things really woke me up to, okay, it's not my job to fix them. And this is unhealthy. That's what I first thought. This is unhealthy that they're calling me or feel that they can contact me anytime to ask me sometimes just stupid questions that they should be able to figure out for themselves.
So I think there's layers to what you just shared. I don't think I ever experienced the, hey, I'm available. I think I always set boundaries. And that was just from my previous life of I needed to have the me, like I needed to separate myself, because I used to make the joke in my corporate life and say, oh, there's no MD at the end of my last name. There's no emergency. So I think that carried over. But I definitely think I was going to use the word insane, but I didn't think that's appropriate for it. But I definitely had this kind of like you. I felt like I wasn't doing my job if I couldn't fix them. And I don't know how long I sat in that space, but I could remember coming into sessions and being disappointed if they didn't feel better. Right? If they didn't move past the whatever, fill in the blank, whatever the challenge of the day, the challenge of the week was. And I don't know how long that lasted for me, but it was definitely the wrong mindset. Of course, I came
Yeah.
into it with my heart. I want them to move forward. I want them to grow. But then I think, again, I was taking it back upon myself and taking that responsibility that it was my job to do that, which
Yeah.
there might be people listening going, well, hell, you're the coach. It was your job, but not
But
in
it's
the
not.
way that I was doing it. Right.
We talked previously on the show that I had gotten into doing more NLP kind of stuff as well. So I was doing a lot of NLP therapy work with people. And in that particular, I very much felt that it was my responsibility to fix my client's problems, to solve their issues for them, because that is essentially what they're paying me for. They're paying me to solve their problem for them. Like, I need to stop smoking, help me stop smoking, or I've got an obsessive compulsive disorder, help me get out of that. Whatever it was, I thought, oh, NLP can help them. I can heal them. I can
Right.
cure them, for want of a better
You're
word.
putting your hands on their head and being like, you're healed. Not really, though, right?
Sure, but and this has been an interesting. We could go super deep on this, interestingly enough, because my opinions of now of sort of NLP and hypnosis is that it's not something really that you do to someone. It's something you help people do for themselves. Even then, like hypnosis is something that somebody has to elect to. Like, if you don't want to go into a trance, you're not going to go into a trance. You have to put yourself in the trance. You have to give yourself permission to be responsive and to trust the person who's guiding you on that journey. And so, like they say, also all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. To some degree, all coaching is self-coaching as well. Like, you want to get people in a position where they can figure out what to do for themselves, because it's not coaching if I tell you what to do.
Well, and we had that conversation in episode 11 where it's like, hey, what's the difference between being a consultant, and being a coach? And I think that the mindset really should be, you're not there to fix anybody. We're not there to fix anybody. We're really there to heighten awareness and show people the way, show them that there is a forward and not a stuck, and that I'm not the end all, because we're not supposed to keep clients forever. I will say to you, I have some clients that I've had for 5, 7 years now, 8 years even. And the beauty of the work that I'm doing with them is that myself and that client can look back and say, wow, look at the journey, right? We're not just having expensive cups of coffee, right? There's actual movement. There's actual application of the work that we're doing that they're putting into their lives. Now, I don't know how long I'll have those people as clients, but for now, the work is working, so it's ongoing. But the idea isn't to do that forever. Not for me anyway. Maybe there's people out there that are like, I want clients for life. It's a whole different episode.
Maybe that is something we need to get to at another episode. But I know for me, growing up, I very much wanted to be a person of significance. I used to read a lot of comic books. I love superheroes. Still do love all the superhero stuff. It's like, and you can, if you can see my background, there's a picture of Superman right behind me. There's on another wall, there's Wonder Woman. I've got Doctor Who and goodness knows what. I still love all that stuff. But I also had bought into wanting to be that. Like, I think I really wanted to be Spider-Man when I was growing up, or the Flash. It was another. I wanted to be a superhero. And I think I brought some of that with me still into my adult life as a coach, or thinking coaching to some degree is kind of a superpower. All the NLP stuff feels like superpowers. It feels like stuff that not everyone can do. And not saying I got like power hungry or anything like that with it, but I definitely felt that it gave me some significance. And so there was a degree to which I bought into that and was partly responsible for allowing those dependency situations to arise and to continue, because I didn't draw the boundaries. Part of me wanted that. Part of me wanted people looking up to me and putting me on that sort of, oh, you saved my life kind of pedestal. And so I was like, that's not healthy. And and that's not something we want. Because
let me ask you though, but let me ask you this. I think this is really important for people listening. What was the turning point? Where did you, or how did you find that awareness where you were like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't healthy. There's a different way to do this. What was that turning point for you?
It was recognizing that I should not be in a position where I'm making decisions for other people. that they are perfectly capable of making themselves. I shouldn't be there for somebody else to have to tell them what to do, that I recognized how disempowering that was.
Yeah.
And I think that was the thing. Coaching is supposed to be about empowering your clients, not disempowering them. And so there was a wake up, and it wasn't just the one client. There were other things there were boundary issues with a few other clients I had that I had to recognize. And I also had some of those boundary issues with a few friends as well. I have to tell you, it didn't take me very long to start putting boundaries in place. I had to, unfortunately, stop working with those clients because I couldn't fix the damage that had been done. I'd already created an unhealthy client relationship, and I couldn't pull it back. I didn't know how to at that stage. Maybe I could now, but at that time, I didn't know how to do that. So the only
I
thing
think
I could
that's
do...
really wow. That's like a super wow moment. I don't think a lot of people could honestly admit to saying, hey, you know what, this was definitely not the right approach. And I love that you said, like, you created that, I disempowered them, right? And
Yeah,
I realized that I should be doing the opposite of that. That's huge.
yeah,
I'm bowing. That's a great acknowledgement, I have to say.
I appreciate that. It didn't feel so good at the time, I have to tell you. I felt pretty
Oh, I'm sure it
rotten.
felt like shit.
Yeah, I felt rotten at the time. I had to go cap in hand to my clients and say, look, I haven't served you very well here as a coach. I'm responsible for having created this situation, and here's why it's not serving you or
Mm,
me. And yeah, that was hard, but it was important, and it was the right thing to do. And
right.
I'm very big on my ethics. I like to be a very responsible operator, and that didn't feel responsible to me. So yeah, when things switched for me, I think I also recognized one of my best friends wanted me to coach her. And I said, look, we can do a bit of coaching. But then I could see that whole pedestal thing coming up there as well. I was like, no, the boundaries aren't right here. It's not going to work. I
Yeah.
still, yeah, you still see these situations. But when you're in it, it's tough. It's tough to sometimes admit to ourselves as well that I'm partly responsible for this. But it's absolutely essential. In my development as a coach, I fixed those boundaries. I had to fix the boundaries with some friends. It cost me a few friendships. Thankfully, none of my closest friends, they got it. But clients, yeah, it certainly cost me a few clients. It cost me maybe a bit of self-esteem. but
Well, yeah.
in the long run, I
Yeah.
was better for it.
Listen, I mean, I think that sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves that we have to get it absolutely right every time. When you're in a coaching call that is being run organically, I'm going to say this, you have no idea what's about to happen. You have
Yeah.
no idea really what's going to come up because, you know what, when I set intention or when I have caught myself setting too much, I'm going to emphasize too much intention around a session, that would throw me off. And honestly, it's like, okay, let me take a step back and I still need to be the guide, the pace car, if you will, but I need to let this start to flow organically and not set an expectation because that's not fair. Now, that can definitely create a little bit of the floor moving kind of thing in the funhouse
Mm.
because or maybe you touched upon topics or pain points for clients, and maybe them coming into the next session or two or three is an avoidance, right? They come up with other things, consciously or not, to avoid that. So you as the coach, I think, still need to pay attention. But I feel like that setting too much, that fine line of setting the intention around the session. I think the only intention that I allow myself to set now is that I need to remain open,
Mm.
right? I need to still be aware, bird's eye view of what's going on, but at the same time, I need to remain open. I'm still sitting here thinking about times where, and I'm laughing out loud to myself, oh no, maybe it happened more than I thought, but not where it was telling people what to do, but giving them too much of the what ifs. Because then I thought, if I'm just giving them options and I'm opening up that door for them, I'm still doing well and getting a little too deep. So you can still ask, so what if you did this? Okay. Or what if it was different? What would that look like? That's a different question than saying,
Mm.
what if you did A, B, or C? Because again, still setting them up for a reliance, right? Instead of them saying, okay, let me ask myself the $1 million question in this scenario. So I think that that dependency, that codependency can absolutely creep in easy. It's like slippery slope.
There's an attractiveness to it as well from a coach's side. This is one of the reasons why I think I have a very deep fascination with the tools of influence and persuasion. And I've spent a lot of time educating myself on those, and still do, as I still try and read and learn as much as possible because it's fascinating. But I could see the appeal of being that sort of guru figure. The person is like, I realize that they're the person with all the answers. Whereas now I am wary as hell about anyone who sets themselves up in that kind of position, because nobody does have all the answers. And nobody is so perfect or knowledgeable that they know everything, or that they can give you all the right answers. Like, there is no one person in all of history who has that. I know.
I agree.
Might upset some people, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well,
And
think of it
we're all
this way.
flawed.
I think that it comes up, or it can come up even for an experienced coach, when we have a difficult client, right? Somebody who just isn't seeing movement, and they start showing up more frustrated, and maybe again, the scenarios can vary. After several sessions of somebody not making any kind of movement, you really have to step back as a coach and say, am I challenging enough? Are they avoiding? Like, you have to really dive in. And I think it's interesting because from the very beginning, we talked about this, right? When we had that first call, and I asked people, why are you here? What kind of coaching do you think you want? Because I want to get an idea of the picture, the vision that they have. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to step into that and be like, oh, let me be this, let me fill the mold. That's not it. But I need to understand what their perspective of what a coach should be doing for them. So if that's not in alignment at the very beginning, I either just state that, or I say, hey, this is who I am and what I do. I don't think we're a good fit, right? That's a tough truth at the very beginning, is to turn away a client and say, hey, perhaps, John is a better fit for you. Have at it. But knowing that as you're progressing through the timeline of this journey with them, I think it's really important to be able to stay true to I guess I'm getting a little in the weeds here, but I'm envisioning this. I'm envisioning this process, and I'm seeing times in my career where, it was not easy because I let the client maybe run the show a little bit too much. You know what I mean? Instead of keeping my hands on the wheel, I let go for a little bit and said, here. And that has, I wouldn't say gotten me into trouble, but has definitely warranted some reflection.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Do you know what? Here's where else it cropped up for me as well. Noticing that the boundary stuff was so important here, was finding myself in situations like, if you are the person that has the answers for your clients, what do you do in those times when you don't have the answer for them? And so, I was talking before, I had one particular client. It was a bit of a nightmare client situation for me, and all sorts of problems came up because of this. But there was an element to which her expectation was that I could fix her. Maybe some part of me thought that I could. And so she was coming back week after week, not taking any action, not doing any of the things that she said she wanted to do, and coming to me for answers as to why that wasn't happening. And I was trying to fill that void of answers.
Oh, yeah.
Again, pulling stuff out my butt, trying to come up with answers for her. But okay, week after week, the same thing again and again. Until it got to a point where it's like, enough's enough here. Like, if you're not going to take action, why are we doing this? Led to all sorts of problems beyond that, which I've talked about maybe before, but just unhealthy, unworkable, unrealistic. Unless you actually want to be a cult leader, even if it's a cult of 2 people.
You don't know that about me? No, I'm joking. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You can have a cult of one person in your cult, It's like, it could be your coaching client, it could be your partner, it could be if you are exerting undue influence over someone else and they are allowing you to do that, or even giving you permission to do that, it's a cult situation, because you are maybe controlling their information, you're controlling their decisions, you're to some degree controlling their emotional output, you're controlling how they spend their time, or even who they associate with. That starts to look like a cult. And so, this is something we should be very, very wary of. Nobody should be putting themselves in that position where you are trying to fill the void for other people, or or responsible for having the answers for them, because will never be fully satisfactory. And you do end up in a situation where you are exerting power and undue influence over someone else.
You know, it's interesting, and I agree with you. It's interesting. I was thinking about those times when you finish up a round of coaching with a client and it's time to decide whether they should move forward or whether it's time to pluck them out of the nest, kind of a thing. And I've had many occasions where I've had people say to me, "Oh my gosh, Angie, what am I going to do without you?" And then I have a session around that and go, "Wait a minute, what do you mean? Let's talk about that." Because I think sometimes it's an initial mindset that once they get out of it, once they get over that piece, they'll be like, "It's okay." It's like having your favorite teacher in school. I don't want to
Right.
leave. I remember crying. They were great. Mrs. Klein cried. I didn't want to leave her. She was amazing. But that didn't mean I was going to sit in third grade for the rest of my life either.
Right.
Although there are some that might say you should have stayed there. You're still too silly for us. But no, but seriously. So it's really that gauge of saying, wait a second, why would you say that? Why do you think you need me? And then sometimes at the end of that conversation, it's just, you know what, I've really so valued the work we've done. And honestly, too, if I get to that point when I have that conversation, if I don't have a clear vision for what can be next for them, I cannot work with them. And I might say, you know what, go take 3, 6 months, even a year. Go do the things. And if you want to come and do coaching, you want to come back to coaching, then come back. Because there's the empowerment. That's what
Yeah.
makes you a great coach, is being able to illustrate to your clients that they've made some really great progress. Now, there are definitely moments where it takes some clients longer to start allowing the onion to peel back. So maybe it's
Yeah.
not until several sessions in that you start to do some heavy lifting, heavy work. And you might want to then, of course, continue because there's specific work to be done. Momentum is now in place and you want to do that. But I also know, and I'm going to say this, sorry, I'm not going to mention any names, but I know of coaches that create that urgency to get people to sign back up. And I think that's shit. I really do. I think that's really shitty. I don't think it's fair. And I guess it's why sometimes it's like in any profession, people go, I spent $40,000 and I'm still not better.
That's
Anyway.
that's what we're talking about, right? I mean, this is partly why some people have so much shit about sales, isn't it? Is that they think some people think that's what sales is, getting people to buy something that they don't really want through emotional manipulation. And sometimes that happens, but that's not sales. That's a con. It's not sales.
Yeah.
Sales should be about service, like helping people get what they actually do want or get to the right service and products for them. If not, you've run into a confidence trickster otherwise. And that's not what sales is supposed to be about. And it's not,
Right.
it's not what coaching is supposed to be about. Like if you have to emotionally manipulate your clients and put them into such a negative state of mind, get them feeling super upset and even distressed about their problems, or get them feeling so super high about things that they can't really think and make rational decisions, I'm not sure that that's completely ethical. No, I've never liked that. That's why I've backed away from a lot of the personal development industry, because there's a lot of that goes on.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Personal development is the key. And again, I'm not saying that I never have situations come up where I can see the reliance building in a maybe not so healthy way with a client, but now I have the experience to identify that relatively quickly. And then I shift away from it. I've had people say to me, I sent you an email last night at 11 o'clock and I was really having a bad time and you didn't answer. I was like, yeah, because I was sleeping. Maybe then it's time to reassess or revisit the conversation about what the boundaries look like. But
I've had client situations where I had clients who were expecting results just because they had a coach.
Yeah. Oh,
do you know what I mean? It's like, it didn't really matter so much what we were actually doing in the sessions. They got, one of those keys to success thing is have a coach, have a good coach. Great. But that's only going to help you if you actually do the work still. It's
Absolutely. Yes.
are you going to get fit just because you got a gym membership? No, you still have to go and do the work, he said to himself. But that's the that's the reality of it, right?
I agree.
We still have to put in the hours, we still have to put in the effort and the energy. But I can see the attractiveness from a coaching perspective to some degree, because like many people come into coaching because they have stuff that they need to deal with as well. Maybe that was partly true for me. We want to improve ourselves. We recognize there are things that perhaps aren't going so well in our lives. And sometimes we come into it because we generally do want to help other people. But if you do have some self-esteem issues, some self-confidence issues and stuff like that, and somebody is looking to you for all the answers, and you suddenly become this point of massive importance in their lives, I can see the attraction, the significance of that. But just know, if that's clicking up any triggers for anybody, this is not a healthy situation for you or your clients. And so it's going to be important to start to address that in some way and hold the mirror up and say, is this really the right way to go forward? That there is a better way, and replay this conversation and figure out your path forward with some healthier boundaries.
Yeah. I definitely think that that's a big part of it. And which is maybe even a whole different session for us, but I'm not saying that we all have to, because it's ridiculous, right? A lot of people, I think, put us on a bit of a pedestal. You have it all figured out and dialed in every minute of the day. If you all saw what I look like right now on this podcast, John and I are sitting here on video, and I was running late. Yep, he has to look at it. My hair is still bedhead, drinking my first cup of coffee because I'm imperfect. I overslept. And guess what? I came in, I owned it and said, sorry, John, most people don't see me like this. Here you are, though. Okay. The point that I'm making is that we are still all human. Just because we're coaches, or if I'm a doctor, it doesn't mean I don't bleed, right? It's the same kind of scenario. And sometimes we get into coaching specifically, or spaces where there's things of our own coming up, and it's virtually impossible for that not to happen. But I think that we have to be trained enough, mentally aware enough to be able to say, wait a minute, is this my issue or their issue? It has happened. That's just a reality, because we're human first, always. So
it's an interesting thing, and I don't want to go into the weeds or off on too many tangents, but I'm very aware that some of the people who we most respect and admire in the world, we tend to idolize them and wash away their imperfections, but they are still imperfect people. And then the thing they say about not meeting your heroes is, I think it's fine to meet your heroes so long as you have the approach of everyone is human, and everyone has issues or challenges or shit they have to deal with. And sometimes people have good days, sometimes people have bad days. They are all human. No one is above it all. And so when you meet, I used to meet a lot of celebrities in my airline days, and some of them were fantastic and some of them were not. But I don't know if they were just having a bad day. I don't know if they were just being an a-hole because that's what their personality is, or if it's just like on the day. And so I can't say whether it was good or bad to meet them or not. It might have changed some of my opinions of them, but I've never really held someone in the sort of level of esteem where I think that they are beyond reproach, where there's really nothing we could say, oh, they do everything perfectly. Nobody is like that. And we shouldn't ever think that they are.
Well, and we shouldn't set an expectation for ourselves as coaches for that either. We're allowed to be imperfect. We're allowed to learn and grow. That's why we call it a coaching. I call it a coaching practice, because I'm different than I was a year ago, and the year before that, and 20 years ago. And I allow for that space, but disallowing people to become overly reliant on me, that is definitely something that I actively work on with all of my clients.
Yeah. There we go. I think we might have just fixed this issue. Maybe,
there he is.
Maybe the UN should hire us and send us out as a worldwide peacekeeping force, because we can just solve everything, right?
Oh my gosh, you don't want me to be a peacekeeper. I'm too opinionated. Just,
And it wouldn't be right anyway. Yeah. But so hopefully the conversation has been valuable to you, and you get, certainly, I hope if it has touched a few nerves about, all right, those healthy boundaries with clients, it's worth examining that. Even if you're not sure, take a good, honest look and ask yourself, are you genuinely empowering your clients, or are you maybe allowing yourself to feel good because your clients really need you? Just maybe make some new and different decisions for that. I've enjoyed this conversation, Angie. How about you?
I love all of our conversations. I do.
I
I
do.
do. I do too. Shall we come back and do it again next week?
I think that's a definite yes.
Definite yes. But in the meantime, if you have a message for us, whether you have some opinions on what we talked about today or topics that you'd like us to cover or coaching situations that you don't know how to deal with, leave us a voicemail. You can contact us at speakpipe.com. That's SPAKPIPE, speakpipe.com/the Coaching Clinic podcast. Leave us your coaching questions, comments, and concerns. You can find the link in the show notes. If your message is really good, we might just speak to you on the show. But that's it from us for today, and we will be back next time with more from the Coaching Clinic. So see you then.
Bye-bye.